When we talk about healthy living, most people immediately think of diet plans, gym memberships, or the latest biohacking trends. But let's pause for a moment and ask a deeper question. What does it actually mean to be healthy? Because if we start from the wrong definition, we'll chase the wrong goals. Health isn't merely the absence of disease. It's the presence of vitality, clarity, and inner equilibrium. It's a dynamic state of balance where your mind, body, and emotions operate in harmony, allowing you to engage fully with life. For decades, we've been conditioned to think of health as something physical, measurable. Your weight, pressure, cholesterol levels. And while these metrics are important, they only tell part of the story. You can have perfect lab results and still feel exhausted, anxious, or disconnected. True health goes beyond numbers. It's about how your system, physical, mental, emotional, interacts and sustains itself in the long term. From a biological standpoint, the body and mind are not separate systems. They are deeply intertwined feedback loops. Every thought you think has a physiological effect. You experience stress, your brain releases cortisol and adrenaline, priming your body for survival. When you experience gratitude or joy, your brain releases oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, neurochemicals that promote healing, connection, and focus. So if our daily inner dialogue is filled with fear, anger, or self-criticism, constantly programming our biology toward imbalance. You cannot live a truly healthy life if your thoughts are chronically unhealthy. That's why redefining health begins with the mind. The way you think about yourself, your habits, and your purpose becomes the foundation for your physical well-being. If you treat your body as an afterthought, your mind follows. If you begin to view your body as the physical expression of your internal state, a vessel that reflects how you think and feel, everything changes. You start to see food not just as fuel, but as communication. Movement becomes a language through which you express vitality. Rest becomes an act of respect, not laziness. This shift in perspective is what I call psychological ownership of health. It means taking responsibility, not just for what you do, but for how you think about what you do. Most people outsource their health to systems, doctors, supplements, fitness influencers. But very few take ownership of the underlying patterns that drive behavior. And yet, that's where the real transformation happens, because no program, no diet, no routine will work if your identity is still rooted in self-neglect or confusion. Philosophically, this is about alignment. The Greek philosophers often described health as eudaimonia, the flourishing of the human spirit. It's not simply surviving longer, but living more fully. You align your choices with your values, your biology responds, your nervous system calms, your focus sharpens. You move from a reactive state of managing symptoms to a proactive state of cultivating resilience. So, what does this look like in practice? It starts with awareness. Begin to observe how your thoughts affect your body. Notice what happens when you're stressed, how your breathing changes, how tension builds in your shoulders, how your digestion slows. Notice how different you feel when you're calm, focused, or grateful. That awareness is data. It's feedback from your own system. The more you study yourself, not from judgment, but from curiosity, the more you understand what health actually means for you. Next, create a mindset of respect for your biology. You don't have to force yourself into extreme routines. Instead, build small daily rituals that honor your energy. Wake up and breathe deeply for 2 minutes before touching your phone. Eat with attention. Move your body with intention, not punishment. Replace the language of have to with I get to. These subtle shifts create powerful neurochemical changes. They teach your brain that caring for your body is not a chore, but a privilege. And finally, remember that health is a relationship. One between you and your body, between your habits and your values. Like any relationship, it requires communication and consistency. You can't ignore your body all week and then expect a workout or green smoothie to fix it. You can't neglect your sleep and expect your mind to stay sharp. You have to nurture it daily in small, deliberate ways. When we redefine health in this way, not as a goal, but as a relationship of respect, something shifts. You stop chasing balance and instead begin living it. You stop comparing your journey to others because you understand that your biology, your psychology, and your purpose are uniquely connected. So the next time you think about getting healthy. Start not with what you should do, but with how you should think. Because the body follows the mind. Every choice you make, from what you eat to what you believe, is a reflection of your internal environment. Redefine that environment, and you redefine what's possible for your life. When it comes to building a healthy life, most people are obsessed with intensity. The crash diet, the 30-day challenge, the overnight transformation. But biology doesn't work that way. Human body and mind are adaptive systems. They evolve through repetition, not shock. What truly shapes your health, your mindset, and your future isn't what you do once in a burst of motivation. It's what you do consistently when no one is watching. Think about how the brain builds habits. Each time you repeat a behavior, whether it's reaching for your phone first thing in the morning or going for a run, you strengthen a specific neural pathway. Over time, pathways become automatic. The more consistent the behavior, the more energy efficient it becomes. That's how the brain conserves effort, by turning repeated actions into unconscious processes. So if your daily routines are chaotic, if your thoughts are scattered, your brain learns to make chaos and distraction your baseline. If your routines are structured, intentional, and consistent, the brain learns stability. Consistency isn't just discipline. It's neuroplasticity in action. The challenge is that our culture glamorizes intensity. We love dramatic stories of transformation. The person who loses 50 pounds in a month or wakes up at 4 a.m. every day to meditate and work out, but those are peaks, not foundations. The nervous system thrives on predictability, not punishment. When we push too hard, activate the stress response. Cortisol rises, sleep suffers, and our ability to make rational, sustainable choices declines. The irony is that in chasing fast results, we undermine the very biology that supports long-term change. So what does consistency really look like in daily life? Simpler and quieter than most people think. It's drinking water before coffee. It's walking for 10 minutes after each meal. It's going to bed at roughly the same time each night. These small actions seem insignificant in isolation, but compounded over weeks and months, they recalibrate your nervous system. They send a message to your body that says, I am safe. I am stable. I am paying attention. And when the body feels safe, it begins to heal, to regulate, to optimize. Consistency also reshapes identity. Every time you follow through on a small commitment, you're not just performing a habit, you're reinforcing a self-image. I am someone who takes care of myself. That identity becomes the compass for future decisions. You stop negotiating with yourself because the decision has already been made at the level of who you are. You become reliable to yourself, and that reliability creates confidence. Not the kind that's loud or performative, but the quiet confidence that comes from self-trust. There's a psychological layer to this as well. Our brains crave certainty, but our minds often sabotage it through self-criticism. We set impossible standards, and the moment we slip, we call it failure. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means staying in motion even when it's imperfect. Think of it like steering a ship. You'll drift off course at times. As long as you keep adjusting the rudder, you'll reach your destination. What breaks most people isn't lack of knowledge. It's lack of forgiveness. The ability to fail and recalibrate without abandoning the process is the essence of long-term success. Philosophically, consistency is a form of respect for your biology, your time, and your future self. It acknowledges that meaningful change takes patience. The Stoics understood this deeply. They taught that character is not built in grand moments, but in repeated, deliberate choices. Every morning you decide whether to meet the day with presence or distraction. Every meal you choose whether to fuel or numb yourself. Every night you decide whether to rest or escape. Each of those decisions compounds. Each one either strengthens or weakens your system. There's also a physiological truth here. Body adapts to what it's repeatedly exposed to. If you consistently feed it stress, it becomes better at being stressed. If you consistently feed it calm, nourishment, and structure becomes better at sustaining balance. You don't need a new plan, you need a new relationship with repetition. Because repetition, when intentional, is transformation in slow motion. So rather than asking, how do I make a massive change? Ask instead, what is one action I can repeat today that aligns with my values? The answer might be as simple as breathing deeply before reacting to stress or setting your phone down an hour before bed. The brain doesn't care about scale. It cares about consistency. Over time, those small acts become the architecture of a new life. You begin to see consistency not as discipline, but as alignment. Everything shifts. You stop fighting yourself. You stop treating health as a performance. You realize that each small act of care, drinking water, getting sunlight, breathing deeply, is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. And soon, those votes accumulate into identity, and that identity sustains you when motivation fades. So if you want to transform your life, stop searching for the perfect routine. Instead, choose something small, meaningful, and repeatable. And then keep showing up. Because the nervous system doesn't care about intention, it only responds to experience. And every consistent experience becomes who you are. One of the most overlooked aspects of health is connection, our relationship with our bodies, with nature, and with the people around us. We tend to think of health as a solo pursuit, something achieved through willpower and discipline. Biology tells a different story. Humans are wired for connection. Every system in the body, from the nervous system to the immune system, responds to the quality of our relationships and the environments we inhabit. You can eat perfectly, train consistently, meditate daily, and still feel depleted if you live disconnected from real human connection and the natural rhythms of the world around you. When you step back and observe how the human nervous system evolved, it becomes clear that isolation is not our natural state. For thousands of years, our physiology was shaped by community, small groups, shared experiences, mutual dependence. The brain developed mechanisms for trust, cooperation, empathy because those traits helped us survive. Even our neurochemistry reflects this. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, lowers stress levels and enhances immune function. Dopamine, serotonin, and endorphins, the same molecules that regulate mood and motivation, are released not just through achievement, but through meaningful social connection. We're disconnected. The body interprets it as a threat, activating the same stress pathways triggered by physical danger. Chronic loneliness and social isolation can raise inflammation markers and shorten lifespan as much as smoking or obesity. So when we talk about healthy living, it's not just about the body you build in the gym or the food you put on your plate. It's about the network of connection that supports your biology. The people you talk to, the spaces you move through, the quality of your interactions, all of these either regulate or dysregulate your nervous system. That's why one of the most powerful things you can do for your health is to reconnect with yourself, with others, and with the natural world. Let's start with self-connection. In a hyper-connected digital culture, we've become strangely disconnected from our inner world. We move from one distraction to another, numbing discomfort instead of listening to what it's trying to tell us. But the body is constantly communicating through energy levels, emotions, tension, or fatigue. Health requires tuning back into that language. The practice of awareness, whether through mindfulness, journaling, or simply pausing to breathe, reestablishes that dialogue between mind and body. When you become aware of your internal state, you can respond rather than react. You can align your choices with what your system actually needs, not what your mind thinks it should want. Then there's connection to nature. Humans are not separate from the environment. We're extensions of it. The brain is calibrated to natural light cycles. The body thrives in fresh air. The immune system depends on contact with diverse microorganisms found in soil, plants, and natural spaces. Yet modern life has pulled us away from these sources of regulation. We spend over 90% of our time indoors, surrounded by artificial light, noise, and constant stimulation. That disconnect comes with a cost. Disrupted circadian rhythms, elevated stress hormones, shallow breathing, and emotional fatigue. The remedy doesn't have to be extreme. Just spending 20 minutes in natural light, walking outside, or breathing fresh air can recalibrate your biology. Nature isn't a luxury, it's a regulatory system your body depends on. And finally, there's the human connection, perhaps the most potent of all. Meaningful relationships act as buffers against stress, amplifiers of joy, and mirrors for self-understanding. They remind us that we belong, and belonging is one of the strongest predictors of long-term health and happiness. But meaningful connection requires presence. Real presence. Multitasking through conversations, not performing for validation, but showing up authentically, listening deeply, speaking honestly. When you engage that way, your physiology shifts. Heart rate slows, breathing deepens, and the brain releases neurochemicals that reinforce calm and trust. It's literally healing to be seen and understood. Philosophically, this is where health expands beyond the individual. A healthy life isn't just about your body or your mind. It's about the system you contribute to. You live connected, you naturally begin to care for the planet, for others, and for the collective experience we all share. That sense of contribution and service gives life texture and purpose. It moves health from a personal pursuit to a shared responsibility. And that shift in consciousness from to me, you, is the true evolution of wellness. If you've ever noticed how energized you feel after an authentic conversation, or how calm you become near the ocean or in a forest, that's not just emotion, that's physiology responding to alignment. Your biology is built for this kind of coherence. Connection isn't something you have to earn, it's something you have to allow. And the moment you begin to reconnect to yourself, to others, to nature, the body begins to remember what balance feels like. So if you want to live a truly healthy life, start rebuilding your connections. Call a friend instead of scrolling. Step outside when you feel overwhelmed. Sit in silence long enough to hear your own thoughts again. These aren't soft or abstract ideas. They're hardwired biological necessities. Your health depends on them just as much as it depends on nutrition or movement. Because in the end, all systems, biological, psychological, social, thrive through connection. Disconnection breeds disease. Connection creates coherence.